I see you. Hope you haven't been waiting there too long. I did give a lot of prior notice. Pleasure to be back. I apologise about the past 2 days that haven't been a story. They have been genuine. The first day, and every guy has this. I mean, some gals might as well. A box of wires and odds and sods. Um, yeah, I had 3 boxes of them, and it got to the point where I had started sorting them out at about 8, and it got nearer and nearer 9, and I thought, I'm not going to finish this, but my OCD and autism side was like, you've got to keep going, you've got to keep going, you've got to keep going, you've nearly done. So yeah, once I start something, I cannot stop until it's finished, and that was why I couldn't do the first store on Friday, because of that. And then yesterday, spent 6.5, nearly 7 hours completely clearing the entire garage out, sweeping the whole thing down, sealing all cracks and stuff in the brickwork, putting everything back in again in segmented order. So, like, bike repair stuff, car repair stuff, fishing stuff, wires and that, gardening stuff. Yeah, had a lot of fun doing that, but I was incredibly tired and achy after I had done that. So I do apologise again for not being on yesterday, but I am here today. So for those that were looking forward to a good night's story, I am here. Please do like, share, subscribe, and obviously the most important thing is that if I'm live, please do share it on your profile if you can, or if you'd be willing, sorry. Just get as many people involved as possible. Let them know about the stories, because there are only a limited amount of stories. This may or may not be a continuous thing. It might change into something. It may have a butterfly effect. It might change into something different after this book has been finished. We shall see, though. We shall see. Do jump into the chat. Let me know you are here. I'm just going to refresh the pages so I can see the up-to-date numbers, because Facebook isn't very good at keeping me up to date with things. Oh God, looking at myself in this camera, I could definitely say I've got my lock-in look. Beard's starting to get a bit longer. The hair starting to get longer. Well, hello there, Eamon. What is going on? What's going on with that? Why am I not seeing myself properly on that screen? Oh dear. Is there a problem on my main Facebook? Let me just... I don't understand what it's doing. Are you able to see me all right, Eamon? Or is it flickering? It's okay on the fan page and on YouTube. It's just the main profile that on my side seems to be confused as to what source it's supposed to be using. What is it doing? is it doing? I sincerely apologise to everybody for this. One moment, please. I apologise to those that are watching this, wondering what on earth is going on here. Just having an issue with the main Facebook account streaming. Don't know if it's a Facebook thing or what. I am now reconnected back on the main Facebook. So again, apologies about what's going on. I really don't know. One-man band here. Right, okay. So, we seem now to be broadcasting on all three sources. The YouTube channel, the main Facebook, and also the Facebook business page. So, without further ado, without any more wasting time or anything like that, because you've probably been on this on waiting to view this story for about 15 minutes or so, something like that. The last story we read was The Straw, the Coal and the Bean, about how they all evaded being cooked and tortured, essentially, and ended up dying in more horrible ways. And then the bean seemed to be quite evil, because he was laughing about the fact that the coal and the straw had died in a horrific way, to the point where he split his skin and was sewn back up by a tailor, hence the reason why we have black-eyed peas. It was an odd story, to say the least, but do we expect anything other from this book? Seriously. For those that are tuning in for the very first time, and I apologise to those that do watch this regularly, I am reading stories from Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales, this book here. Absolutely beautiful. Cannot read them to my children and don't generally have time to read them to myself, so what I'm doing is I'm reading them live to you. And all of these stories I have not read before. I am reading them live for the very first time in the booth to you on a live stream. So I'm just excited, intrigued and nervous as you are to hear the stories as I am to read them. So without further ado, we shall be reading The Fisherman and His Wife. Remember, do like, share and subscribe. Get onto the chat, drop in there and just say hi. Let me know you're there watching, and do give lots of emoticons and emojis, or however you want to call them. It does help with you know what I'm trying to say. Right, let's get going. Welcome to all of the new ones that have just joined as well. There was once upon a time a fisherman who lived with his wife in a miserable pigsty close by the sea. And every day he went out fishing. And once, as he was sitting with his rod, looking at the clear water, his line suddenly went down, far down below, and when he drew it up again, he brought out a large flounder. Then the flounder said to him, "Listen, you fisherman, I pray you, let me live. I am no flounder really, but an enchanted prince. What good will it do for you to kill me? I should not be good to eat. Put me in the water again and let me go." "Come," said the fisherman, "there is no need for so many words about it. A fish that can talk, I should certainly let it go anyway." With that, he put him back again into the clear water, and the flounder went to the bottom, leaving a long streak of blood behind him. Then the fisherman got up and went home to his wife in the pigsty. "Husband," said the woman, "have you caught nothing today?" "No," said the man. "I did catch a flounder who said he was an enchanted prince, so I let him go again." Welcome everybody that's just joined. Algorithms, that's the one. Thanks, Eamon. Went home to his wife. "I did catch a flounder who said he was an enchanted prince, so I let him go again." "Did you not wish for anything first?" said the woman. "No," said the man. "What should I wish for?" "Ah," said the woman, It is surely hard to have to live always in this dirty pigsty. You might have wished for a small cottage for us. Go back and call him. Tell him you want to have a small cottage. He will certainly give us that." "Ah," said the man. "Why should I go there again?" "Well, I think it's quite obvious. You live in a pigsty." "Why?" said the woman. Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. "You did catch him, and you let him go again. He is sure to do it. Go at once." The man still did not quite like to go, but did not like to oppose his wife, and went to see. When he got there, the sea was all green and yellow, and no longer so smooth. So he stood still and said, "Flounder, flounder, in the sea, come I pray you here to me. For my wife, good Isabel, has sent me here against my will." It's like most shopping lists that the wife gives you. Then the flounder came swimming to him and said, "Well, what does she want then?" "Ah," said the man, "I did catch you, and my wife says I really ought to have wished for something. She does not like to live in a wretched pigsty any longer. She would like to have a cottage." "Go then," said the flounder. "She has it already." When the man went home, his wife was no longer in the pigsty, but instead of it stood a small cottage, and she was sitting on the bench before the door. Then she took him by the hand and said to him, "Just come inside. Look, now isn't this a great deal better?" So they went in, and there was a small porch and a pretty little parlour and a bedroom, and a kitchen and a pantry, with the best of furniture, and fitted up with the most beautiful things made of tin and brass, whatever was wanted. And behind the cottage there was a small yard, with hens and ducks, and a little garden with flowers and fruit. "Look," said the wife, "is that not nice?" "Yes," said the husband. "And so we must always think it. Now we will live quite contented." "We will think about that," said the wife. With that they ate something and went to bed. Everything went well for a week or a fortnight, and then the woman said, "Listen, husband, this cottage is far too small for us." They're never happy. "This cottage is far too small for us, and the garden and yard are little. The flounder might just as well have given us a larger house. I should like to live in a great stone castle. Go to the flounder and tell him to give us a castle." "Ah, wife," said the man, "the cottage is quite good enough. Why should we live in a castle?" "What?" said the woman. "Just go there. The flounder can always do that." "No, wife," said the man. "The flounder has just given us this cottage. I do not like to go back so soon. It might make him angry." "Go," said the woman. "He can quite easily do it and will be glad to. Just you go to him." "Well, what does she want then?" said the flounder. Sorry, apologies, I've just jumped straight forward there. The man's heart grew heavy, and he did not want to go. He said to himself, "It is not right," and yet he went. And when he came to the sea, the water was quite purple and dark blue, and grey and thick, and no longer so green and yellow, but it was quite still. And he stood there and said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray you, here to me. For my wife, good Isabel, has sent me here against my will." "Well, what does she want then?" said the flounder. "Alas," said the man, half scared. "She wants to live in a great stone castle." "Go to it then." "She is standing before the door," said the flounder. Then the man went away, intending to go home, but when he got there, he found a great stone palace, and his wife was just standing on the steps going in. And she took him by the hand and said, "Come in." So he went in with her, and in the castle was a great hall paved with marble, and many servants who flung the doors wide, and the walls were all bright with beautiful hangings, and in the rooms were chairs and tables of pure gold, and crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling. And all the rooms and bedrooms had carpets, and the food and wine of the very best were standing on all the tables, so that they nearly broke down beneath it. Behind the house, too, there was a great courtyard with stables for horses and cows, and the very best of carriages. There was a magnificent large garden, too, with the most beautiful flowers and fruit trees, and a park 1/2 mile long in which were stags, deers, and hares, and everything that could be desired. "Come," said the woman, "isn't that beautiful?" "Yes, indeed," said the man. "Now let it be, and we will live in this beautiful castle and be content." "We will consider about it," said the woman, "and sleep upon it." Then they went to bed. Next morning the wife awoke first, and it was just daybreak, and from her bed she saw the beautiful country lying before her. Her husband was still stretching himself, so she poked him in the side with her elbow, and said, "Get up, husband, and just peep out of this window. Look you, couldn't we be the king over all the land?" "Go to the flounder. We will be king." "Ah, wife," said the man, "why should we be king? I do not want to be king." "Well," said the wife, "if you won't be king, I will. Go to the flounder, for I will be king." "Ah, wife," said the man, "why do you want to be king? I do not want to say that to him." "Why not?" said the woman. "Go to him this instant. I must be king." So the man went, and was quite unhappy because his wife wished to be king. "It is not right, it is not right," thought he. He did not wish to go, but yet he went. And when he came to the sea, it was quite dark grey, and the water heaved up from below and smelled putrid. Then he went and stood by it and said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray you, here to me, for my wife, good Isabel, has sent me here against my will." "Well, what does she want then?" said the flounder. "Alas," said the man, "she wants to be king." "Go to her, she is king already." So the man went, and when he came to the palace, the castle had become much larger, and had a great tower and magnificent ornaments, and the sentinel was standing at the door before him. And there were a number of soldiers with kettledrums and trumpets. And when he went inside the house, everything was of real marble and gold, with velvet covers and great golden tassels. Then the door of the halls were opened, and there was the court in all its splendour, and his wife was sitting on a high throne of gold and diamonds, with a great crown of gold on her head, and a sceptre of pure golden jewels in her hand, and on both sides of her stood her maids in waiting in a row, each of them always one head shorter than the last. Then he went and stood before her and said, "Ah, wife, now you are king." "Yes," said the woman, "now I am king." So he stood and looked at her, and when he looked at her for some time, he said, "And now that you are king, let all else be now, we will wish for nothing." "Nay, husband," said the woman, quite anxiously. "I find time passes very heavily. I can bear it no longer. Go to the flounder. I am king, but I must be emperor too." "Thanks, Mark. I must be emperor too." "Alas, wife, why do you wish to be emperor?" "Husband," she said, "go to the flounder. I will be emperor." "Alas, wife," said the man, "he cannot make you emperor. I may not say that to the fish. There is only one emperor in the land. An emperor the flounder cannot make you. I assure you he cannot." "What?" said the woman. "I am the king, and you are nothing but my husband. Will you go this moment? Go at once. If he can make a king, he can make an emperor. I will be emperor. Go instantly." So he was forced to go. As the man went, however, he was troubled in mind and thought to himself, "It will not end well. It will not end well. Emperor is too shameless. The flounder will be at last tired out." With that he reached the sea, and the sea was quite black and thick, and began to boil up from below, so that it threw up bubbles, and such a sharp wind blew over that it curdled, and the man was afraid. Then he went and stood by it and said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray you, here to me, for my wife, good Isabel, has sent me here against my will." No comment, Damon. "Well, what does she want then?" said the flounder. "Alas, flounder," said he, "my wife wants to be emperor." "Go to her," said the flounder. "She is emperor already." So the man went, and when he got there, the whole palace was made out of polished marble, with alabaster figures and golden ornaments, and soldiers were marching before the door, blowing trumpets and beating cymbals and drums, and in the house barons and counts and dukes were going about as servants. Then they opened the doors to him, which were made of pure gold, and when he entered, there sat his wife on a throne, which was made of one piece of gold, and was at least 2 miles high. It's one hell of a big castle. And she wore a great golden crown that was 3 yards high. Should have a sore neck, surely. And set with diamonds and carbuncles, and in one hand she had the sceptre, and in the other the imperial orb, and on both sides of her stood the yeomen of the guard, in 2 rows, each being smaller than the one before him, from the biggest giant, who was 2 miles high, to the very smallest dwarf, just as big as my little finger, and before it stood a number of princes and dukes. Then the man went and stood among them, and said, "Wife, are you emperor now?" "Yes," she said, "now I am emperor." Then he stood and looked at her well, and when he had looked at her for some time, he said, "Wife, be content now that you are emperor." "Husband," she said, "why are you standing there? Now I am emperor, but I will be pope too." "Go to the flounder." "Alas, wife," said the man, "what will you not wish for? You cannot be pope. There is but one Christendom." I said that right. "He cannot make you pope." "Husband," she said, "I will be pope. Go immediately. I must be pope this very day." So, yeah. "No, wife," said the man. "I do not want to say that to him. That would not do. It is too much. The flounder can't make you pope." "Husband," said she, "what nonsense! If he can make an emperor, he can make a pope. Go to him directly. I am emperor, and you are nothing but my husband. Will you go at once?" Then he was afraid and went. But he was quite faint, and shivered and shook, and his knees and legs trembled, and a high wind blew over the land, and the clouds flew, and towards evening all grew dark. The leaves fell from the trees, and the water rose and roared as if it were boiling, and splashed upon the shore. And in the distance he saw ships which were firing guns in distress, pitching and tossing on the waves, and yet in the midst of the sky there was still a small bit of blue, though on every side it was as red as in a heavy storm. So full of despair, he went and stood in much fear, and said, "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray you, here to me, for my wife, good Isabel, has sent me here against my will." "Well, what does she want then?" said the flounder. "Alas," said the man, "she wants to be pope." "Go to her then. She is pope already." So he went to her, and when he got there, he saw what seemed to be a large church surrounded by palaces. He pushed his way through the crowd. Inside, however, everything was lightened up with thousands and thousands of candles, and his wife was clad in gold, and she was sitting on a much higher throne, and had 3 great golden crowns on, and round about her there were much... What on earth is that word? Ecclesiastical splendor. Wow. New word for the dictionary. Ecclesiastical. Let's do that sentence again. and she was sitting on a much higher throne, and had 3 great golden crowns on, and round about her there were much ecclesiastical splendour, and on both sides of her was a row of candles, the largest of which was as tall as the very tallest tower, down to the very smallest kitchen candle, and all the emperors and kings were on their knees before her, kissing her shoe. "Wife," said the man, and looked attentively at her, "are you now Pope?" "Yes," she said, "I am Pope." So he stood and looked at her, and it was just as if he was looking at the bright sun. When he had stood looking at her for a short time, he said, "Ah, wife, if you are Pope, do let well enough alone." But she looked as stiff as a post, and did not move or show any signs of life. Then said he, "Wife, now that you are Pope, be satisfied. You cannot become anything greater now." "I will consider about that," said the woman. At this they both went to bed, but she was not satisfied. All greediness let her have no sleep, for she was continually thinking what there was left for her to be. The man slept well and soundly, for he had run about a great deal during the day, but the woman could not fall asleep at all, and flung herself on one side to the other the whole night through, thinking always what more was left for her to be, but unable to call to mind anything else. At length the sun began to rise, and when the woman saw the red of dawn, she sat up in bed and looked at it. Please no. And looked at it, and when through the window she saw the sun thus rising, she said, "Cannot I, too, order the sun and moon to rise?" "Husband," she said, poking him in the ribs with her elbow, "wake up! Go to the flounder, for I wish to be like God is." The man was still half asleep, but he was so horrified that he fell out of bed. He thought he must have heard wrong, and rubbed his eyes, and said, "Alas, wife, what are you saying?" "Husband," she said, "if I can't order the sun and moon to rise, and have to look on and see the sun and moon rising, I can't bear it. I shall not know what it is to have another happy hour unless I can make them rise myself." Then she looked at him so terribly that a shudder ran over him, and said, "Go at once. I wish to be like God." "Alas, wife," said the man, falling on his knees before her, "the flounder cannot do that. He can make you an emperor and a pope. I beseech you, go as you are and be Pope." Then she fell into a rage, and her hair flew wildly about her head, and she cried, "I will not endure this. I'll bear it no longer. Will you go?" Then he put on his trousers and ran away like a madman. But outside a great storm was raging and blowing so hard that he could scarcely keep his feet. Houses and trees toppled over, and mountains trembled, rocks rolled into the sea, and sky was pitch black, and it thundered and lightened, and the sea came in with black waves as high as church towers and mountains, and all with crests of white foam at the top. Then he cried, but could not hear his own words. "Flounder, flounder in the sea, come, I pray you, here to me. For my wife, good Isabel, has sent me here against my will." "Well, what does she want then?" said the flounder. "Alas, she wants to be like God." "Go to her. You will find her back again in the dirty pigsty. And there they are living still at this very time." Much longer story, and it had a lot more content and structure to it. I liked that one. I really, really did like that one. Because, to me, personally, that story, I mean, it may be something different to you, But to me, it's sort of like, as we are now, we're very materialistic and we're never happy when we get something new. Then we're like, oh, the next best thing. I want the next best thing. And then we get that. Then we want the next best thing. And then we get that. And then we want the next best thing. And where does it stop? Where does it stop? And basically, the guy appreciated what he had. It doesn't necessarily mean it was a male or a female. It's just how it was described in the book. But yeah, I did like that because it is very mirroring to sort of the modern society of commercialism and consumer products and stuff, and something new always coming out to pique your interest and buy that. What are your thoughts? Drop your comments in the chat. Let me know what you thought. Where's my mouse gone? Okay. Right. Okay. Maybe I think from now on I might do just a 15-minute warning that I'm going live rather than a half-hour warning. Yeah. I did enjoy that story. That was very good. Tomorrow's is The Valiant Little Tailor. No idea what that's about. Looks about as long as this one. It looks like we're starting to get into the longer stories now. And then Tuesday, we're going to make a big song and dance about this one. Cinderella. The original Cinderella on Tuesday. So do not miss Story 21 on Tuesday. Obviously, don't miss Story 20 tomorrow, because I'd like to see you. I haven't been here for 2 days. So I would like to see you, my adoring fan. Right, okie dokie. So we shall end there. Thank you ever so much for dropping in. Doesn't matter how long it was for. And thank you very much for your comments and helping with the algorithms. Please remember to do like, share, and subscribe. And if you are watching via YouTube, please do like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon just in case you want to be notified of when I go live. I thank you once again for joining, and it's been a pleasure to read to you tonight. Take care, and most importantly, stay safe.